Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video, we will look at cancer, benign tumours and malignant tumours. So, radioactive materials are hazardous. Nuclear radiation can ionise chemicals within the body, which causes changes in the way that they behave inside of the cells. It can also deposit large amounts of energy into the body, which can mutate and damage the DNA, and it's often the damage in the DNA that can lead to cancer. So something that increases the likelihood of developing disease is called a risk factor. So carcinogens are chemicals that cause cancer by damaging the DNA. So a single mutation may not cause cancer. Several mutations are often required. So for this reason, we are more likely to develop cancer as we get older, as there will be more risk factors throughout your life. Viruses linked with cancers, such as human papillomavirus, will increase the risk of developing things like cervical cancer. Carcinogens within cigarette smoke will increase the chance of lung cancer. Alcohol can increase the chances of getting things like liver cancer or esophagus cancer. Exposure to ultraviolet radiation, so that's the part of the sun that makes you go brown during sunbathing, could also lead to skin cancers developing. And diet, a whole range of things in your diet could act as risk factors to go and cause you to develop cancer. Exposing to ionizing radiation, so all UV radiation. Exposure to carcinogens. An example of this might be asbestos. So this was something that was used in building to act as insulation. A benign tumour is a mass of cells that lacks the availability to invade neighbouring tissues or metastasize. So these do not spread into or invade nearby tissues. However, they can sometimes be quite large. So unlike most benign tumours elsewhere in the body, benign brain tumours can also be life-threatening. Malignant tumours are cancerous tumours that can potentially result in death. So unlike benign tumours, malignant ones grow quickly and can spread from one place in the body to another relatively quickly. So a tumour is any sort of abnormal proliferation of cells which may be either benign or malignant. So when we go in and we're looking at how it develops, so we have to start off with thinking that cancer is when abnormal cells start to divide in some sort of uncontrolled way. So some cancers may eventually spread to other tissues. So the cancer starts with changes in one cell or a small group of cells. So usually we have the right number of each type of cell. So this is because cells produce signals to control how much and how often they divide. So if any of these signals are faulty or missing, then the cells might start to multiply and form a lump called a tumour. Right, so this is where the primary tumour starts to develop. To start with, cancer cells stay within the body tissue from which they've developed. So for example, the lining of the bladder or the breast ducts. Doctors call this superficial cancer growth a carcinoma. So the cancer grows and divides to create more cells, eventually to form a tumour. All body tissues have a layer, so a membrane, that keeps the cells of that tissue in place. So this is called the basement layer. Cancer cells can break through this membrane, and if this happens, then the cancer is called invasive. So as the tumour gets bigger, its centre gets further away from the blood vessels in the area where it's grown. So the centre of the tumour gets less oxygen and nutrients. So once cancer can stimulate blood vessel growth, it can grow bigger and more rapidly. It stimulates the growth of hundreds of new small blood vessels to the capillary to bring nutrients to it. So cancer cells can spread from one part of the body to another through the body's bloodstream. So in order to do this, some cancers from the primary cancer must break away and travel to another part of the body and start growing there. So if we look very quickly at how the tumours form, important things to note down are there's the uncontrolled or abnormal growth or division of cells. If we're describing how tumours can spread from one part of the body to another, we need to talk about it travelling via the bloodstream or the circulatory system. Lots of times when we get questions on cancer, we'll be given some sort of graph that looks like the one on the right. So we're describing trends in the number of people with malignant melanoma, so skin cancer, between 1985 and 2008. You need to be saying something like they're increasing or they're increasing more rapidly. And because this graph talks about richer and poorer people, then the rich, so the difference between rich and poor areas is getting less. So use the data about the number of trips abroad to suggest an explanation for this trend. So you talk about risk factors. So the risk factor from UV in the sun. So more UK citizens are going abroad and taking holidays in the sun. More people can afford these holidays. So therefore a greater number of people will be getting a greater dose of UV, which will lead to a greater number of cases of cancer.
Thanks for watching.